Hi, I'm Somer Hackley,
And I am Zen Mac, and this is the Art of Search Hiring Manager Series.
and these are stories and insights about all things hiring. Zen, here we are again, just us. Good to see you.
Hello, very good to see you. I'm
Yeah.
actually glad I caught you today. Something came up recently, and I thought I could use some advice or maybe your point of view on this.
Hmm.
So, I'm talking to this organization, and we're talking about, recruiting in general. And then we kind of got to the topic of like hiring panels and candidates and experiences, and it just kind of left an impression on me that I wanted to just see what your thoughts are. Companies like the hiring manager specifically was saying, look, we're trying to balance this idea of how do we really put a candidate through their paces, right? Really kind of grill them and make sure that they understood the candidate's skill set and did a real proper thorough vetting. But at the same time, balancing that with the candidate feeling welcome, the candidate feeling like they're a part of the organization already, and just overall setting the right good feelings about the interviews. So, what would you say to that, especially in the executive search world?
I love this. There is so much nuance to what we do, and I've seen, especially in this world of Zoom or Teams or Meet or whatever you use, but like it's so easy. When you're going to an interview or you're even going down the hall to interview a candidate, there's like a mental transition versus just like I'm in a meeting, Slack's going off, and now I'm in another meeting, and let me switch gears so quickly. And I've had, I think because of that, meetings run late. I've heard from candidates the hiring manager showed up late. They're clearly distracted, and they just start rapid firing questions at me. I'm like, oh no, that's not the warm and fuzzy. And then you can overcorrect and just chit chat with someone for a half hour and be like, they're great. This was so much fun. So I think there is a happy medium. And as you were asking the question, I was reflecting on the interviews where the candidates come out of the interview and they're like, that was awesome. I'm very interested. I can't wait to hear feedback. And those are not interviews where the hiring manager sold them. They weren't like, let me tell you why it's great to work here. Let me tell you all the reasons why I joined. Like, it's not a deliberate sell. Like, they're not chatting at someone. It's really, and I'm just thinking across multiple hiring managers now, it's really the ones that show up just real and transparent, and
Mm.
not everything's perfect. It's like, look, let me tell you what you're walking into. Like, let me tell you about me and why I'm even looking for this person and how you can help. And it's already a partnership. There's vulnerability. People want to work for honest, credible people with a lot of vision and a lot of self awareness. And I think if people can show that off the bat, and then it's just more of a flowing conversation and more of a like, let's see if this is the right fit for you together, it tends to go really well. Because I think of these interviews as, especially if it's with the hiring manager, I view this first interview as a quick half hour, maybe hour touch point, and you're going to talk again. Before you
Mm.
get an offer, usually the hiring manager will talk to them again. Even if it's not scheduled, there'll be an ad hoc, here's your cell, just ask questions, whatever. So
Yeah.
so I think if that first round could just be very honest and vulnerable and ask the right questions just to set them up for success for the next round, or just a couple questions to disqualify them, I think that's enough. And there's a sell there just in being honest and having vision. So kind of simple, but what do you think?
I like that. I think you're absolutely right in the sense of selling the vision, talking about the vision, not even selling. I actually kind of have a little bit of an allergic reaction to that word now
Yeah.
because I feel like any amount of sell is going to just kind of fall through and go up in smoke because as soon as the person starts day one, they're going to see what environment this is, right? And so in a way, inviting that person into why the role is open, what your vision is for the role, taking an interest in that person's own pursuits. Like, I'm sorry, but I think everyone who takes a job is taking a job in support of their lifelong pursuits as well. Maybe some of it could just be it's a job. Sometimes it could be their larger calling. Sometimes it's on the path to them building a great organization themselves. We don't really know. And until you stop and ask that candidate that question, you're not helping them on their journey to where they're going. It's gonna be hard to try to get them to join your journey, so to speak, right? So I think that's there. But once we get past the hiring manager's conversation, let's say it's well enough that both parties want to participate in the next round. How do we extend that to the rest of the panel? Because I find that giving rubrics, interview questions. Here's what a good question is. Here's what a good answer looks like. Here's how we score it. Those interactions also need an awareness of that balance between vetting and welcoming, if those are the right words that we're choosing to use.
Yeah. And I'd love to throw it back at you too, but I think the best hiring managers and internal recruiting teams set up all of those interviewers with preparation.
Hmm.
And I've seen the whole gamut of, I know we're not supposed to bias the next round with feedback, but you can at least give them a heads up as to who the person has met already, what the role is. Like, let's all be aligned on that. And like, how are we all selling
Yeah.
the role? Like, I've heard from candidates, I remember from some searches where they just leave a multi-stakeholder interview panel with just conflicting understanding of the role, or even worse, hearing that someone at the company wants the job, or like just
Or the
confusion,
same
right?
question by three different
Oh yeah, or tell me about yourself from
interviewers.
every single
Yeah.
person. Yeah. So like
If
I
you were a
think
shape, what would you be? Yeah, those
there are
kind of
silly
questions.
questions.
Yeah. Oh,
So
exactly.
yeah,
Yep.
let's have a process. Let's make sure everyone's covering different things. Let's make sure we're inviting you to the process because you're going to ask something different than other people.
Yeah.
And yeah, but making sure everyone knows what the job is and we know what we're looking for in that person is really important.
I think that's the reason why this whole thing exists, right? The reason why the person's in front of you on camera or in person talking about their background and history is because of the job, and that's where we should focus. But also this concept of like connecting with the individual. What have
Hmm.
they done? What interests they have in the role? How do you interact with this particular new hire is going to help explain a lot of the dynamics in the organization. I think that's really helpful. I've seen panels where people bring in like cross-departmental participation, which is fantastic when you're hiring, say, an accountant and you bring in a salesperson, right? Like that's a great way to give the candidate a view, cross-section about the company, but also getting a point of view from the other departments on your candidate. But if it's misaligned and the interview panel isn't on the same page, then that kind of gets disastrous very quickly.
Hmm.
So anyway, that's been a conversation that's been going on a little bit about just how do you balance that welcome versus vetting kind of conversation.
Yeah.
What's the right ratio? Is it 50-50? Is it, 75% vetting and 20, and then, oh yeah, at the end of 5 minutes, let me try to welcome you, right? Like that
Right.
that's also not the right breakdown either.
Right. Well, here's the thing, you're vetting 100% of the time, even if you're interviewing, right? So even if you're just explaining yourself and the role and the person's interjecting and saying things, like you're judging every single thing they're saying, how they're saying it, how long they're saying it for, all that kind of stuff. So I'd say you're vetting 100% of the time, but it comes down to, are you QA, rapid fire questions, no warm and fuzzies at all, like showing up late, just being frazzled and distracted. Like there's a whole spectrum of different ways to
Yeah.
go about it. So yeah, so that's my 2 cents. I'd say be prepared, be transparent, share your vision, have questions prepared, but allow the conversation to kind of go where it's going to go, but then make sure you bring it back whenever you need to. And you can interrupt people nicely if you need to, just so you can get what you need. And if there's something you're concerned about, I would say tell the person, you
Mm.
know, if it's something that is, you think it's something that can be addressed, like, hey, when you gave that example, I was actually listening for this thing. Did you do that thing or no? And at least just try to recruit in versus out a little bit, and then we
Mhm.
can make a decision. So that would be my 2 cents.
Cool. Well,
Cool.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the conversation. All right, then. I'll see you next time.
See you
Take
next
care.
time.